Hey there, comic friends, I'm Travis, and this is another edition of No Capes, where I talk about comic books that don't have to do with superheroes and or Ethan doesn't read them or doesn't review them along with me. Right off the bat, we're going to talk about BPRD, Hell on Earth. This is issue number 114. This is mostly the Liz Sherman issue. She is back. Not just kind of back, she is seriously back in this. She goes and takes care of this whack job doctor who's been creating zombie monsters and people and stuff like that. Basically gets herself back in the BPRD. She shows back up, kind of gets herself lined up. She's going to be part of this mission that's going into Manhattan, where they've been having all this crazy problems. Everything's completely cut off and whatnot. Get lots of other little nuggets of little information about the more subtler stuff that's going on in the book. But like I said, one of the big things is Liz is back. She's basically in uniform. She's there to do the job. Kind of misses all of her old friends, but like I said, she's there to do the job. She's back. That she knows this is what she should be doing. This is her home, and she seems to be happy with that. Really looking forward to seeing where we go next. The book, this charge into Manhattan, I think is going to be really, really cool and really epic. This is the last issue with this artist on it. We're shifting artists, which I'm excited about. Really haven't been a fan of the artist that does the interior work on this book. So excited about that. Continuously is a solid book. The book never disappoints. It's always got a solid story, even if it's not like, an earth-shattering issue in particular. It always has cool, interesting stuff going on that it just enriches the entire environment and the universe that the book is set in. So excellent work there. Black Science issue 2. Zero disappointment with this book. It's a great second issue. First issue was really exciting, kind of wet our whistles for a bunch of stuff. This gives us more of a handle on some of the players that are in the book here. Kind of gives us where their standing was before, where they're at now. We continue to have this mystery of the fact they have this device that they call the Pillar that transports them through dimensions and stuff, and it has been broken. It's kind of on a random time where it's going to jump and stuff. Everybody seems to have some level of motivation as to why they would have smashed this pillar, except for the kids that are involved. Anybody else could be. There's this kind of smarmy guy who's the head of this thing that kind of has financed it all. They do a wonderful job of writing him of being an absolute prick. And see, you just hate him, and you're supposed to, obviously. And so that's really cool, I think. You get some idea what these relationships between these people are like. You get this guy named Ward, who's kind of the security guard, military guy. You find out what his motivations are pretty clearly in this. When we get this cool land they're in, where there's obviously some massive world war going on, but it seems like in this reality, the Native Americans of the North American continent were never discovered or never conquered or never any of that kind of stuff. They are their own force, and they are actually invading Europe and basically kicking the crap out of the Germans and stuff like that. It's kind of like World War I or World War II, except it's not. It's set way in the future because the Native Americans have these power armor and all that kind of stuff, and they've got to break into this camp to get a shaman because our main character, or assuming the main scientist, has been wounded, deadly wounded, it seems, and he's the only person they think that can fix the pillar and get them jumping back where they need to, as opposed to just being thrown throughout the universes. Really, really cool story. Great art, great coloring, just cool, all around cool. Another extremely cool book, East of West, issue 8. Every issue of this book just gets more and more solid, I think. This issue, we get a large slice of the President of the United States and her motivations, just how much of a zealot she is, how much of her motivation is not just about power, which is pretty typical of a lot of people who are presidents, kings, and that sort of thing, but that her beliefs or desires to do the will of the message and the Four Horsemen, or 3 anyway, is pretty diabolical. I mean, and kudos to the craftsman of this book in that, even down to the lettering, the simple lettering of the way they talk and the way it's written gives you a different feel depending on what she's saying, when and where, in a very subtle and masterful way. Just incredibly done. And we've got Death going off on his own journey where he has unlocked an oracle, and he is willing to trade something, we don't know what yet, for some knowledge, and we're assuming the knowledge of is where is his son, and the oracle in here just looks really cool, really graphic. The artwork, Dragot, is just incredible. The imagery, the imagination. It's like almost like a well-produced heavy metal. It's just really, really old school heavy metal. It's just a really, really, really cool, really great book. And every issue, like I said, just gets more intriguing, more interesting, and more solid. Next up is Ghost #1. This is the ongoing, spinning off of the miniseries that was out last year. Same writer with some scripting help from another person, Ryan Sook, on interior art, which is incredible. It's been a long time since I've gotten to see Ryan Sook do interiors. Normally he does these outstanding covers. He's doing the interior work. The interior artwork is awesome in this book. It's absolutely fabulous. Interesting story. Ghost is now, after kind of dealing with what she thought was the Devil Man, she is now basically a demon hunter, and she's going out and she's squashing these demons that have been slipping over into Chicago, from wherever the Devil Man was from, and kind of how it all interacts with her. She knows some about herself, but she still doesn't know large portions of herself, so she's still searching for that amongst everything else. I just think it's going to be a really great book. This first issue is interesting. It kind of sets things in motion. She's got these different things going on. We've got our secondary characters who are just as interesting. They've got their own motivations. They're trying to convince her to go on route, and she's got her own route that she wants to go. It'll be really curious to see where it all meshes together at. Just a really, really good, entertaining story. I know Mr. CDC MP is reading it. I haven't heard about anybody else reading it. I'm kind of hoping some other people kind of pick it up and check it out, and give it a shot. Dark Horse Ghost. The Massive, issue 18. Callum kind of comes to grips with some of his demons and some of his ghosts. He attempts to kill the Whale Hunter. Almost does. The Whale Hunter ends up dying after giving Callum some pieces of advice. Meg, our now second mate, he has found out now finally that Callum is dying of cancer, and that he had been getting treated and tested by Mary, which is another intriguing thing about Mary. We haven't seen Mary for a few issues because she has disappeared. Meg strikes a deal with the Whale Hunters, much to probably Callum's unhappiness. But this issue is more about just getting more about what makes Callum tick, why he is the way he is, some of the way he operates, and lays some heavy stuff on Callum's shoulders about the fact that he should really let the past stay in the past and move forward to become something else, or those ghosts are going to eat him alive, and maybe that is what's killing him. Symbolically, this cancer is these ghosts of his past coming to get him. Still a really interesting read. Pretty Deadly, issue number 3. I think every issue gets better than the last issue. This issue has some wonderful storytelling in it again. I'm not sure I get the whole the dead bunny and the butterfly thing at the beginning. Those characters, I mean, they're amusing and all, but they're supposedly telling us this story, but they don't really feel like they're telling us this story. They're just kind of, I don't know, kind of an odd opening window dressing. They're like a strange version of Kane from the old House of Mystery, where at the very beginning he's like, I'm here to tell you the story, and then it goes in the story and you never see Kane again, except for occasionally at the very end. And this, we don't see that. But in this issue, we get to see the origin. We get to find out basically through storytelling, through the pressure of this two-toned eye a girl with a vulture feather cloak, her pressuring Fox into telling her what is going on. And his version of telling her what is going on is him telling her another folk tale. And this folk tale is more about Jenny and death itself and the husband lover that kind of pushed Jenny's mom to death and all of that. And we find out that really that's Fox. He is blinded by death. Death's the one that strikes his eyes, and it's not that he can't see. He can see except for what he needs to see. That's what he can't see. Seems to be his dilemma at this point. And Death, he also discovers Jenny is a small child, and he wants to take Jenny back with him because he is the closest thing to family. Raised her right and all that kind of stuff. And Death's like, no, I'm not going to do that. But what I will do is, if you go and do this deed for me, I will keep Jenny from coming and getting you for your long life. Otherwise, I will let her loose on the plane of man, and she will have her way. Much to the small child Jenny's chagrin. So he's appointed to go and do this thing, and he decides he's going to go do this. He goes to these crossroads of blood, and there's this woman there. The woman looks exactly like the African-American woman that we saw who was running this house that Fox had went to hide out briefly. She seems to be there. She's struggling in some way. This convergence of blood's there. These hands raise up out of the blood, and this child is lifted up out of it. And he is supposed to destroy this entity that's at this crossroads. If he destroys this person, he will get what he wants. But it lifts up this child, and it's a child with two different colored eyes. The child is obviously this girl we're seeing here with the vulture cloak. Just really, really cool stuff. We also get this longer conversation with a crow accusing the young man who gave the papers over to the girl with the vulture cloak. Conversation goes on there, which is really interesting. Not sure if that's Death or who that is that's pushing that information forward. That'll be curious to find out what that is. You also get this great conversation between Jenny after she's cleaned up the battle, what's left of it, and the woman there, the African American woman, explaining how she's managed to survive all this time and whatnot. Really, really good. I mean, I know people knock this thing to start out with how it was questionable, a story question. I think it's getting really solid. The artwork obviously is just outstanding in it. I'm really digging the book. I like the way the storytelling is in it now. It's not as convoluted. It's much more straightforward and kind of a, you're telling different bits and pieces, but more of a linear fashion. And I love the story within the story within the story. To me, it's just a great, great way to explain these people, where they are, gives us kind of a history lesson on them, and gives us some motivations as to what's going on. And now we know why Fox is running, and despite Fox supposedly being this good man, Jenny's supposedly after her. And how is that all going to play out? Because obviously Jenny runs by some moral code that isn't just simply vengeance and evil. So it'll be really, really curious to see what in. I'm very excited by the book. I think it's a great, great, great read. Revival issue number 16. Still really digging this book. Lots of crap happens in this issue. Implications of pregnancy possibly in this for one of our revivalists. They go to check out the professor's place to try and find out, see if they can get some information about if he really is the murderer of M. The place gets lit on fire by what looks like a revivalist, somebody whose face is all messed up but wearing a ski mask. Just all kinds of craziness happening. Porters poking their nose into it. It's just so hard to even talk about and explain what's going on in it, but it's really cool, really enriching. Talked a bit about this book over the weekend, lots of people's hangouts. In general, just a great, great read. I think it's complex. I still think it's really interesting. Some people are saying, oh, it's lost its spark or its pep. Not every moment's gripping, without doubt. there's just a lot of really interesting storytelling, I think, going on. Lots of little details being sewn into this giant tapestry that makes this book, and is what I think makes it really. I'll argue I think makes it really cool. All these bits and pieces that are moving and whatnot. It's not simple. It's not straightforward. There's tons of life going on in the book, and nothing's as simple as get up in the morning, eat my breakfast, go to work, come home, go to bed. Everything that happens in your life happens in this book. It just kind of, there's all these different folds and whatnot, and I can understand if maybe that's too much for some people that you want it condensed down. And I'm not saying that this is expanded in a way that it's just trying to drag a story out. I don't think that's the case. There's so many things to show little parts of that all make up part of Wasilla, this town, these people's lives, this quarantine, and what the whole machine looks like that makes up this design of this book. And I think that makes it a smart book and makes it really interesting. Saga issue 17. Woo! We get the payoff for the Bukkake scene from 2 or 3 issues ago. We see why he envisioned that he did. That's really interesting. Crap really hits the fan in this book. Things go completely the directions I wasn't expecting. I didn't think anybody else was necessarily expecting to. People die, it looks like, in this thing. The wrong people potentially die in this thing. Just a great book. I continue to harp on how great Saga is. This was an exciting issue. For those people who thought that some of the prior issues were too slow and weren't getting going, this definitely has some of that getting going. I think we got one more issue, then we get another break. That's unfortunate in the fact that the book is so good and so fun that you just want to keep reading it, keep getting it. But lots of great little subtleties in the thing. I just love all the characters in it. They all have a perfect place in it, and so yeah, makes lots of fun. Trying to get through these a little quicker. Samurai Jack. Samurai Jack is what it is. This issue was fun. I think I'm going to quit getting Samurai Jack because I really like the cartoon. This isn't quite the cartoon. I am enjoying it. This happens to be one of the most expensive books I pick up. I get the least amount of discount on IDW books, so be a little pickier about what I'm reading, and I'm starting to get tight on titles. I can't pick up a lot more stuff, so I need to find some breathing room. This one's, I think, going to be one of those places where I get the breathing room at. Not that it's bad. It's fun for what it is, but it isn't enriching my reading enough for me to continue to enjoy it, if that makes sense. It's not a bad comic. It isn't providing me enough stuff. And I don't think a Samurai Jack comic book is supposed to. Whereas I loved the old cartoon. It was visually stunning and whatnot. This one is good, but doesn't have the same sorts of ornate background and other things about it that I loved about the Samurai Jack book so much. Plus the fact I continue to think that Jack has to talk too much because of the way the comic book is designed versus the way the television was. Or they could just have a lot more silent panels than what they do. One of the two. But anyway, okay book, but probably I'm going to put it on my pull soon. I don't know. I did just order it this last time I did my comic book order, so we'll see. Issue 2 of 3 of Sledgehammer 44. Crap is really hitting the fan here. We get a battle between Black Flame and Sledgehammer, and we kind of get a war going on of secrets between World War II, Nazi Germany, and the U.S. allies. Just a really interesting book. Love the artwork in it. Lawrence Campbell does a great job in this. I don't think this is the most dynamic of the Hellboy universe stuff, but I still enjoy it. It's another just kind of interesting slice of what was going on that fills the universe. And for that, I enjoy it. I figure issue 3 is going to have some really cool payoff. It usually does. These books usually land on some kind of heavy note setting up whatever's going to be next going on in it. So I'm looking forward to that. But it was a pretty good issue. Pretty good issue. Okay, I'm going to take a drink here real quick. Sorry for the pause. Okay. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles issue number 29. My first purchase of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle book. I have read Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in the past, way in the past, like, close to 20 some odd years, close to 30 years in the past. I read some of that first stuff when it first came out. I had friends that were reading the Turtles. So I picked the Turtles up because I keep hearing how great they are. I have some of you YouTube friends out there saying this is a great thing. So I decided, you know what, I better try this out. I felt like I needed to give this a shot, despite my suspicions, and see if this would be something that I would enjoy. If it's got these great stories going on in it, why am I missing out on that due to my prior conceived notions of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? So I have to say this was an interesting read for me because it's a bit of a struggle because of all of the baggage that comes along with me reading Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, just because of my history with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which is considerably different than most everybody else that I know that reads Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, because I come from a different era of it than everybody else, and so I think I come from a different space. This was an okay issue for me. I'm not riveted by any means. I have a hard time not picking on stuff that just seems kind of silly to me, that of course if it was in another comic I don't know if I would pick on it or not. And it's dumb stuff, why do they wear masks? It's not like they're hiding any sort of identity. A lot of the bits and clothing that they wear, I question, but that's got nothing to do with this book in particular. It's just in general about turtles. And that's one of the biggest thing about this is the stuff that in my head I was kind of picking at has nothing to do with this story in particular. It has to do with just the general idea of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and why some of the stuff about them is the way they are, and their father and stuff. So let's get to the actual story itself. I didn't mind the story. It was okay. I don't know enough about like the Turtles' relationship with their father to understand exactly what that is. I mean, I think that to some degree in this issue there's some stuff going on. There's some conflict between the Turtles, because my understanding is one of the Turtles had been brainwashed in the past and he's still coming out of that whole thing. And one of their kind of sworn enemies shows up out of nowhere, who is a fox woman. But I think they have some legitimate, I think there's some legitimate complaints in here. Like Raphael has some legitimate complaints as to why are they doing this, and why aren't they taking care of business, and this person's bad and whatnot. And father just basically, Splinter, that's his name, right? Splinter is just going, no, my word's final, shut up, kind of a thing. I don't know. To me, that's like, I just feel like there should be some backlash there. But like I said, I don't know these guys' relationship that well. I mean, I understand that he's the master and whatnot. You don't talk the master, but really? Okay. So, I'm curious. I did put this on my poll. I mean, it's technically not on my poll until I think issue 31. I will be going to the store and picking up the next issue. I'm going to check this out or not. I don't know what I really think of it now. It's okay. I'm not riveted to it. I'm not necessarily emotionally drawn into the issue and what's going on right now. But we'll see. I mean, there's some conflict there that I might be interested in reading to see what that's going to be. But yeah, I mean, I'm not super excited by it, but like I said, I'm going to give it, 4 or 5 issues to see exactly what it's telling me and see if it's something that I'm could really get into or not. So, Ninja Turtles. And finally, 10 grand. This is issue number 6. I'm really digging the book. Yeah, I got this drastic change in art. It's not, Ben Templesmith. Love Ben Templesmith. That's why reason I got in the book. I'm surprised. I'm actually really enjoying the story. And this new artist, I don't mind. It's completely radical different style of artwork. But I still like it. I mean, it's interesting. I don't think it's bad art. I think it's intriguing art. It's got its own style. So visually, to my eyes go, ooh, look, something new to taste. And so I'm happy with that because it's not ugly new. It's new and interesting. I mean, there are aspects of the storytelling of it that are stiff because of the design work that it is. But I don't think it's bad. I'm enjoying it. But in this story, the story is really interesting. He kind of runs into some, trapped angel, it seems, and he helps that angel out and fights this really wild worm of an angel, Nephilim creature, which is really interesting. And he kind of gets his head screwed back on straight to understanding why it is that he's doing what he's doing, and starts moving forward. And now he's got this like partner or sidekick, basically Archangel, that swinging a flaming sword. I don't know. I think it's cool. I think it's a cool story. Surprisingly, I don't know if it's really complex. It's become less complex, but I'm sticking it out through this arc till he gets to his the love of his life and see what happens there. I'm not envisioning this book being an ongoing, though. I think at some point it's going to be pretty finite because the original thing that this book was set up on, now we're not seeing it all, and I can't imagine it going back to that negotiation of him doing the work for the angels, and if he dies, he briefly gets to see the love of his life, and then he gets sent back again. Because that whole system seems really broken now with the demons of hell having snatched her up and kind of they have her hidden away as leverage. So yeah, but I think it's really cool. Anyway, that's it for No Capes. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you read some of the books. Let me know what you think of some of those books if you read any of those. Once again, I'll ask, are there No Cape books out there I'm missing that I should be checking out? Really trying to make it a point of picking up some of those other books and seeing what else is out there in the No Capes world that I'm missing, because there's going to be a lot more of them now, so I know I'm going to start missing some. Anyway, have a great day, everybody.